It's Tuesday morning, about to walk in and do some scouting in a spot that I was at last week. I found a bunch of good sign in one spot. It just looked a little bit old, so I'm going to use that as a starting point, and I'm going to kind of search in surrounding areas to figure out where the deer are at currently and where the fresh sign is at. It's about 8 a.m., so I've got, as much of the day as I want to figure out what's going on around here. I just had 3 bucks come running up on me. I think they must have been getting chased by a coyote or something, but they were all pretty young, not what I'm looking to shoot. I haven't seen a single scrape or rub, and I've been walking for about a mile through some of this stuff that I thought was going to be really good. It's a lot of good oak timber, lots of acorns on the ground, but just haven't seen a whole lot of sign. So I'm going to keep walking through some of this, double back, walk through some more on my way back to the car, and then go look at a different spot, I guess. This thick stuff that I walked through last week, found a bunch of rubs in there. I was skeptical and thought that they were old, but now I'm second guessing that because I was just walking down the edge of this stuff and found a pretty fresh set of tracks that are pretty big. It can't be a doe. I found exactly where they come out of this thick brush and walk along the edge of this bean field. It actually rained a couple of days ago right after I came and walked through this stuff. So those tracks have to be since I walked through it. And I'm pretty sure the tracks are him coming from his bed probably after dark or right at dark out into this field to feed. I'll probably come back in here tonight if I have a wind that works for it and have my stand on my back, walk up in here and get set up in a tree that's, back away from the edge of the field a ways. Hopefully get in a spot where I can catch him getting up out of his bed before dark. I just made it back out here for the evening hunt. I'm about to pack my stand and sticks back in, try and follow that trail that I found the tracks coming out of into that cover. Hopefully I can find a tree back in there that I can climb up into. It's about 5:30 right now, so I'm only going to have, once I get it all set up and all that, I'm only going to have an hour or so of sit time, but I don't really expect the deer to move a whole lot, before dark. As you can tell, I didn't find a tree big enough to get into. Kind of forgot that this side of the bedding area is just really small trees. So I'm set up on the ground right here. I think it could work. There's a grass lane right here that I'm sitting next to. And I can actually shoot right between this tree and stay kind of hidden behind it. The trail where those tracks are coming from the bedding into the field is about 30 yards up through here. The group of 3 trees right there, that's where it's at. So if a buck comes from this thick briar patch, I'll be able to shoot right between these trees, and hopefully they have enough cover that he can't see me. If they come from back behind me, I'm kind of screwed, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully only the big buck comes out, because I think about anything that steps out is going to see me, and I'm going to have to shoot it right away, so if it's a doe or a small buck, then it's probably going to bust me. I actually busted 2 deer on the way in here. Couldn't tell what they were, but they were standing right next to the edge of the bean field, just inside the brush. They didn't blow or anything. They just ran back into the cover. I'm not sure if they really saw me or I think they just heard me coming and took off. So there's definitely deer in here. Hopefully the big boy's in here too. Hopefully he steps out tonight.
My plan worked pretty well, except for the fact that they just came out on a trail, I don't know, 60 yards further down from the one that I was watching. So, I mean, they were probably 90, 100 yards down. And I couldn't tell if there was, at first I thought it was a spike, but then there was definitely a buck that had it, at least 4 on one side. Somehow they made it across that clearing before I was able to even see him, but I saw him flickering his tail at one point, and that's what I noticed. There was a deer down there. Zoomed in, and it looked like it was at least a decent buck. Not sure if it was a buck I would want to shoot. I'll have to look back at the footage. Probably come in here tomorrow night again and try and set up where those deer came out and see what exactly it was. I watched back the footage of that buck last night that I filmed. Pretty sure that's not a deer I would shoot, so I'm not gonna set up where he came out. So I'm gonna go further into the cover tonight and walk in, hopefully find a tree that's big enough to put a stand up in. I wanna get way up, that way I can kind of see down into the tall grass and thick junk. That way if a big buck steps up and doesn't really make it over to the edge of the cover, I'll be able to see him still. Got a good perfect northeast wind, overcast skies, a little bit of drizzle. Feels like it's good deer hunting weather. I'm 2 sticks high in this cottonwood tree, about 12 feet off the ground. It's actually a sweet little setup. I can shoot in a lot of different directions and I can see a lot. The only problem is I don't think that's really where I want to be at. I kind of forgot that it's pretty open back in the middle of this, and there's not that many places a buck could bed where it's thick enough, tall enough stuff. We'll see. There's still a few pockets of tall grass out here, and there's also one thicker spot over here to my right shoulder that, there very well could be something bedded in, and if it gets up and comes towards the beans, I'll be able to see it. Well, this hunt is not going that great. I don't feel like I'm in a great spot, and I'm getting rained on. It's not raining that hard, but it's definitely enough that it could ruin some camera gear if I didn't get it covered. Luckily, I brought this trash bag with me. It's keeping us mostly dry here. I was also just sitting here and heard a crash behind me. Looked down and my bow's laying on the ground because apparently the twig I hung it on was not strong enough to hold it up. It held it for a while, and then I think that rain kind of softened the limb and it dropped. Luckily there were some other limbs that kind of broke its fall, so I climbed down and grabbed it. It looks like it's fine, but if it does this for much longer, I'm probably going to get out of here if I can figure out how to... The problem is I don't know if I can figure out how to get out of here without getting everything wet. And I'm really hungry. I could go for a pizza right now. I'm not sure how much of that hunt I'll end up showing. I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes even in my car. It was a big train wreck. I should have known better from walking through it the first time that there weren't going to be any good trees where I wanted them to be. I could see a lot from where I was at in that tree tonight, but I couldn't see well where the stuff was the thickest, and that's where the deer are going to be bedded at. So that was strike number 1, and then it started raining on me. I ended up dropping my bow, and then I'm sitting there soaking wet. I was getting destroyed by the mosquitoes as soon as the rain stopped, and then of course I didn't see anything. So that's how it goes hunting when you're a mobile hunter, moving around and stuff. Sometimes you walk in and you just can't find a tree that works in that spot, and I don't know, maybe I should have just walked back out of there. Maybe I should have set up on the ground over where I wanted to be. I'm not sure what I should have done, but hopefully some spots I scout will turn up with some good sign and I can go hunt somewhere else. I'm kind of over this spot. Yeah, I think that'll be it for this week's episode. Hopefully next week we'll have one on the ground. Who knows?